So I've worked with a number of different elected officials on laws concerning cycling here in New York City, and I'm really proud of what we've done to change the law. I've also worked on a number of laws to protect pedestrians in New York City, and one of the absolutely craziest laws that was just crying out for reform because it was so contrary to everyone's conduct and everyone's understanding of the law was the law that said once the pedestrian crossing signal started to flash, a pedestrian was not permitted to step off the street. And the absurdity of this rule was even in greater relief once we instituted these countdown clocks like you see here. So that countdown clock is telling you when the light is going to turn red for real. But the law, up until maybe 5 years ago, was that if the hand is flashing, it doesn't matter if there's 30 seconds on the countdown clock and you know you can make it across in 10 seconds. The law was that you do not have the right of way to step off the curb. You can only step off the curb during that brief interval when the white walking figure is shown on the pedestrian crossing signal. And this came up because I was representing a woman who was struck in the crosswalk with the right of way. And we tried to bring it to the district attorney's office and they said, oh no, your client didn't have the right of way. Well, it turned out this woman worked for then public advocate Tish James, who's now the Attorney General of New York State. But at that time, Tish was and still is quite open to the idea of common sense laws. And, you know, this staffer for Tish, who was my client and had been injured in the crosswalk, we got together and we put together a change in the law that said you were allowed to step off the curb until the hand is like a red. And a solid red, not flashing, no time left on the countdown clock. That was 5 or 6 years ago. What's happened since? There was just a new law passed that decriminalized walking even when the hand is up as a solid red. Because what was shown is that more than 80%, I think more than 90% of the people who were being ticketed and prosecuted for walking against that walk signal, they were black and brown people. And it's just like, that's not a coincidence, okay? That's the police enforcing a law only against a specific part of the New York City population. And there's no reason for it. You know, so now we've decriminalized that as well. It potentially raises some other issues, but certainly when it comes to the police issuing summonses and creating potentially criminal consequences or other consequences for people who might be found guilty of a violation or an infraction like that, we don't need that. What we need is to have laws that are enlightened and then to have people take responsibility for their own actions. That educational piece of it, the engineering piece of it, is so much bigger than the enforcement piece, so that we can have a few hundred or maybe a couple thousand jaywalking summonses issued to pedestrians, all of whom seem to look alike, by the police each year. Win-win.